Welcome into another edition of the Checkerboard Chat. I am your co-host, Ryan Schumpert, joined as always by Ryan Cruz. A lot to talk about here in the Tennessee sports world with Tennessee's basketball team splitting a 1-1 week, dropping one at South Carolina. They should have had 63-61 before returning home last night to take on Vanderbilt and squeaking by 65-61 in a game they didn't play very well in. The Lady Vols went 0-2 on the week as their losing skid goes to 4 games. And Tennessee baseball team opened up its season last weekend, and they're 4 games in and off to a nice, strong 4-0 start before things start to get a little bit serious this week when they head to Texas. But we'll open up the show talking about men's basketball. And Ryan, is Tennessee is trying to get to that 18-win mark to kind of give itself a fighting chance in the SEC tournament. And they needed that one against South Carolina Saturday, a game they led for 23 minutes, think trailed for only 4, but just in the end let it slip away. Talk about what went wrong for Tennessee.
You know, they just didn't, especially in the Vandy game. Coach Barnes talked about it. They didn't respect the game of basketball. That's what he said. They just kind of played very sloppily, especially there towards the end. It just wasn't a great week in terms of execution. Josiah Jordan-James was out for the South Carolina game. Only played 5 minutes in this game, so that's huge. Big contributor there. All around, just Fulkerson and played not. He kind of bit of regression from his stretch of games there, but still pretty good. Pons another slight regression, but still serviceable. Bowden's slowly coming back there, but I just think all around they just got to do better. With execution. Yeah,
Fulkerson was kind of a mixed bag because, you look at the numbers and he had 2 solid performances, 25 points, 9 rebounds against South Carolina, career high. And then last night against Vanderbilt, he played strong in the second half, picking up 17 points and 7 rebounds. But in the South Carolina game, missed 5 free throws, turned the ball over 6 times. And that was kind of the theme in the South Carolina game. Tennessee shot very poorly at the free throw line, just 17 of 28 in that one, turned the ball over 20 times. And as much good things as Fulkerson did, and you don't really want to rag on a kid too much. In the game, he scored 25 points. It was those little things that really hurt Tennessee. And then again last night against Vanderbilt, he missed that bunny to open the game. I don't think he scored in the first half. And Barnes said he was upset with how Fulkerson and Pons played. And Fulkerson finally kind of got it going there in the second half, right at around the 10-minute mark. He went on, scored 10 straight points for Tennessee, scored 14 points in about a 6-minute stretch on his way to scoring a team high 17 points, but it still wasn't one of his more consistent performances of the year, and I think that was something that's disappointing for Barnes. The bench production, you get Josiah James back, you can kind of move Jalen Johnson off or back to the bench, so that gives you a little bit more depth, and it does seem like they're starting to get some solid bench play from their guards, and Jalen Johnson and Devontae Gaines, but after kind of a flash from Olivier Campbell against Arkansas, he's started to kind of go back to what he has been for most of the season. Uros Plastic is struggling. Just how much is that hurting this team, not having anyone behind Fulkerson or Pons that can really give them consistent play in the front court?
Definitely, Barnes talks about Fulkerson's best when he's at around 30 minutes a game, and when he doesn't have anyone to back him up, that puts out Fulkerson longer than what he's supposed to be out there, which causes him to get fatigued and create mistakes, as the turnovers show in the South Carolina game, and that's going to get you killed. So I think it's a cascading effect of all that affects there.
Yeah, and it's at this point in the season, you look at the way this team's developed, you look at how the roster's changed, and they're starting to find a little bit of an offensive identity, and it's really through Fulkerson and Pons. Those guys have to score for Tennessee to be real good on offense. Vescovi can do some things, Bowden can do some things, but they don't need to be Tennessee's number one options, and I think you saw that last night. With 10 minutes left in the game, Fulkerson and Pons had 8 points combined, and Tennessee was losing to a bad Vanderbilt team and was playing very, very poorly on the offensive end. And, Barnes' comments at halftime about them, the passing just disrespecting the game, and the offensive performance was pathetic. And then you see down the stretch, Fulkerson starts scoring. Pons, I think, had a dunk in there too. That's how Tennessee's offense is going to have to be. They're going to have to play inside out. As those guys go, the offense is going to go. Vescovi can do some good things, and Bowden is starting to play better. Played well last night, hit 2 threes, scored 17 points. But those guys down low, especially Fulkerson, he's the more consistent scorer, are really going to have to lead the way for this team, I think. Looking at the last 5 games, since the schedules came out and back in the fall, you looked at the last 5 games and you said, that's the gauntlet. That's the gauntlet. How can they survive at Kentucky, Auburn twice, Florida at home, at Arkansas? Tennessee needs to find a way to win essentially 3 of those games to give itself a chance to make the NCAA tournament. They're favored. Look at the advanced analytics. They're projected to win the game at home against Florida by about, I think it's about 65% win probability, and then about 52% win probability in the home game against Auburn. So obviously none of those games are givens. Neither of those games are givens for Tennessee. But let's assume they win those 2. Where do they get that 3rd win? At Arkansas, at Auburn, or at Kentucky? Where do you think is the best chance for Tennessee to get that win?
I think definitely the best chance is Arkansas, because as the Vols showed when they played here, those 2 teams match up well. Tennessee's the better team, and I think yes, they have a great home court advantage, but Tennessee, if they can control the mistakes, they can cut down those on the home court advantage. Play their game. Don't get wrapped up in the environment you're in. So I think that's definitely, because I think Kentucky is too good.
Yeah, to win or up, that's going to be it. It's a daunting task.
It's definitely a daunting task. They had it close here with Kentucky, but Kentucky overwhelmed them. And also it looked like Kentucky was a bit of a stretch there, having that Vanderbilt scare there just a couple days later. So I don't think that's much of an option. And then Auburn, I think, that's a tough environment and a very tough team. So I think that would definitely be a pretty impossible task as well.
Yeah, no, I certainly I agree with that. I think the thing with Arkansas is, as much as they're struggling right now, which they certainly are, they've lost 5 straight games, got killed against Tennessee 2 weeks ago, was getting killed against Florida last night, actually showed a little bit of fight to come back and lose by 5. But I think the thing to watch there is with Isaiah Joe, the second leading scorer for Arkansas, 16 points a game. He's a guy that's missed the last month, starting to sound like, it's funny, I was reading a tweet last night from an Arkansas beat writer that was saying that it's like Isaiah Joe, chance he can go Saturday against Missouri, more likely return for Tennessee on Tuesday. So kind of so unlucky there for Tennessee that Joe's going to possibly come back against them. But I think he's a guy that changes their team, but makes that a harder game, certainly. But that still one Tennessee going to win. It's a team that Tennessee just matches up well against. We talked a minute ago about their post scoring. Arkansas is the smallest team in the league. They foul the most in the league. Rick Barnes talked about it last night. His big thing offensively is good teams get to the free throw line. And that's something I think Tennessee's going to be able to do, even on the road where you're not going to get as many whistles against Arkansas. It'll be interesting to watch down the stretch. I think that South Carolina one was really the one they needed to have to get to 18 regular season wins and have a fighting chance in the SEC tournament. But still 5 games to be played, a lot of opportunities to be had. I mean, they're challenging opportunities, but opportunities indeed. Now, switching it over a little bit to the Lady Vols side, we talked about it. Last week, they'd lost 2 straight, 2 really tough teams, best team in the country in South Carolina, good Mississippi State team. No need to hit the panic button. 2 more tough games we knew this week. Vols go 0-2 in them. Lady Vols go 0-2 in them with losses to LSU, 65-75 on the road, and then dropping a heartbreaker Sunday against Texas A&M, 73-71. What did you see against LSU and then to a good Aggies team?
I think this is starting to show the Lady Vols' lack of depth. Previewing them, they have 12 people on their team. That's below even the scholarship limit.
Yeah.
This is a very young team. It's it's obviously a rebuilding here with Kelly Harper in her first year. I think, it's just they've just kind of had bad stretch of luck here. Renai was out for a game, was slow coming back the next game. So I think, obviously dropping out of the top 25 for the first time this season, they just got to keep going, try and bounce back from this. I think they still have a good chance to do really well in the SEC tournament and then to make some noise in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it was kind of ironic. You look at the A&M game and you kind of you start looking at the box score, and it was kind of similar to this South Carolina game for the guys the day before. It is the turnovers and the missed free throws that really hurt Tennessee. 16 turnovers, then they shot just a horrible 6 of 16 at the free throw line, which obviously that's just awful. And then you combine that with A&M shooting 28 of 33 at the free throw line. I mean, that's the difference in the game right there. I mean, you look at the stats. Tennessee shot 47% from the field, shot 32% from three. Good shooting numbers. Held A&M to 36% from the field, 36% from three. You got to be happy with that. But A&M's ability to get to the free throw line and convert, while Tennessee was, 16 free throws, solid amount. Certainly not as much as A&M got, but only hitting 6. I mean, that's pretty crucial mistakes there. And I think another thing you saw this week is LSU game, which they were competitive. They were in it going into the fourth quarter before LSU ran away with it. But just, we've talked about it all year. Who can help Rennia Davis out? Can they find other options? And in that game, Tennessee got 19 from Rennia Davis. No one else got double digits. Lou Brown had 9. Tamara Key had 9. But not a whole lot of help in that A&M game against a top 20 A&M team. Tennessee was able to get 18 from Rennia Davis, but 19 from Ray Burrell. Finding a way to get other people involved offensively is just going to go a long way, I feel like, with this team. As you noted, they're still safely in the NCAA tournament. They have, where the guys' team has no room for error, the Lady Vols have some room for error. They built that up by starting strong, taking care of some weaker competition to start SEC play. Tough game Thursday at a good Arkansas team. Another one that's kind of two teams in that top half of the league. And then you end the regular season with Vanderbilt at home. Vanderbilt's all right, but a game at home you'd expect them to take care of. Ole Miss at home, who's the worst team in the league, and Auburn on the road, who's the second worst team in the league. So some opportunities to kind of rebound, get the momentum rolling before they head to Greenville on March 4th to open up the SEC tournament. Finally, to close out the podcast today, we got our first look at the Tennessee baseball team this weekend, sweeping Western Illinois, and then once again yesterday picking up a midweek win 8-2 over Charlotte. Some faces we didn't get to see. Garrett Crochet doesn't throw. Camden Sewell doesn't throw. Will Heflin, not a surprise, doesn't throw. But what were your overall takeaways, I guess, from these first 4 games?
I think they looked really good. The hitting was definitely huge. That they had seemed to, hit the ball really well all throughout the lineup. Saw a lot of depth. In the Sunday game, they had 23 different players play.
Yeah.
Pitching is definitely looking strong. Chad Dallas was the opening day starter in place of Crochet, filled in really well. But it seems like definitely on the pitching staff, there's a lot of young guys and a lot of first-time guys. All 3 starting pitchers. It was their first start for Tennessee, and 2 of those were junior college. So you have that, older mentality, but still, a lot of new faces. I think, Tony Vitello has the team continuing on the rebuild.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You look at the pitchers, and when Crochet comes back, he's going to get that Friday spot, and Chase Wallace is pretty cemented into that Saturday spot, but I think that Sunday spot, they're still not really sure exactly what they want to do with that. Who's going to be that starter full time? So you saw some good things from the pitching. You're not sure if that's what you're going to be looking at all year. That's the pitching staff, but it's going to be the starters. I mean, those guys are certainly going to be contributing heavily if they're not. But strong start from them. That's kind of been the standard DMO from this program the past 2 years with Frank Anderson as the pitching coach. But the way they hit the ball, and I don't want to. It's Western Illinois. It's Charlotte. It's not the end all be all. Western Illinois last season ranked 245 out of 297 in Division I teams in ERA. So certainly not the best competition, but even last year when Tennessee wasn't playing the best competition, they were beating teams early in the season 4-0, 3-0, 5-2. They weren't putting up 20 runs on people and 8 runs like they did against Charlotte. And, one thing I thought was going to be interesting to watch before the year was these sophomores, Max Ferguson, Jake Rucker, Connor Pavoloni, Trey Lipscomb, Austin Knight, guys that played a lot last season. What can they do in the second year? What can they do with a full offseason? And that sophomore class combined for 3 home runs as a freshman year, and here in the first 4 games they have combined for 7. Jake Rutgers absolutely mashing the ball, hitting .429, 2 homers, 5 RBIs. Connor Pavolone, I mean, the Tennessee catcher spot last year, I don't mean this to sound disrespectful because there's a lot of things that go into being a good catcher besides just your ability to hit, but I mean, they were a liability at the plate last year. In SEC play, Pavolone and Landon Gray, the 2 catchers combined, I think, to hit 190. It was almost an automatic out when those guys were up. Pavolone hits 333, hits a homer, and then Landon Gray is a guy, junior college transfer a year ago. You saw some of the potential of Pavolone as a freshman. Landon Gray, a guy you didn't see as much potential at the plate. He just has 1 start so far, but he's hitting .400. It's really top to bottom. They've been significantly better in the lineup. That was so much of what it was for them last year, is they had a good middle lineup with Andre Lipsius, who's in the MLB now, or MLB farm system, Al Solari, the All-American, Evan Russell. Good guys in the middle of that lineup, but there was no consistency. Top to bottom so far, they've been very strong. Like you noted on, a lot of depth, a lot of different guys getting at bats and looking good, and definitely a very, very strong start to the season. Now it gets a lot more difficult this weekend when they travel to Texas. One other guy I want to touch on, I feel be remiss not to talk about him, is Zach Daniels. He's, junior season, he's always looked like $1 million getting off the bus. Just a great athlete, great looking player. Can absolutely crush the ball. Going into the season, I looked into it, the stats a little bit. 33% of his 33% of his hits had been home runs in his career, and 49% of his at bats have been strikeouts. So you've seen the problem. He couldn't lay off a breaking ball. He wasn't a complete hitter. And again, you don't want to buy too much in just against bad teams, but he's been absolutely excellent. Hitting .462. He's popped that power with 2 home runs, 2 doubles. But he's walked 3 times, only struck out twice. Just looks like a completely different batter at the plate. And, he's not going to keep up numbers that high, but he wasn't against, even in midweek games last year, he struggled to lay off breaking balls. Certainly a very good sign for a guy that's potential is just absolutely through the roof. So this weekend they travel to Texas. They get number 5 Texas Tech, Houston, and number 25 Stanford. What do you think do you think Garrett Crochet pitches on Friday? 2, what do you expect from the team? What would be a successful weekend?
I don't expect Crochet to pitch. When Vitello said that Crochet was out, he said he specifically said he's not going to rush him. He said, I might even bring him back too late. I don't want to push it. I know what we have, and yes, it's high quality competition. But in the long stretch, I think Vitello's more focused on SEC play. But I think the three games will provide a great early litmus test for the Vols. These are all really good programs. I think this will be a great way for them to see how they stack up against.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think with Crochet, I don't think they're going to pitch him, and I think what would be interesting would have been if this weekend was next weekend or the week after, is if they would have pitched Crochet. Because now, you get past this weekend, the rest of the non-conference slate is pretty weak. They can get by it without Crochet. I think, like you were noting with Vitello talking about it, he was saying we're probably going to be more conservative than people want, and even Garrett wants. So I think all the concern will be just getting him back for SEC play, prepared to go. And, an early litmus test, certainly for the team as a whole, and I really think for the offense is going to be the big question. Can they continue this with the amount of pitching Tennessee has out right now? Crochet out, one of the junior college transfers out, Will Heflin out until conference play. Camden Sewell, he hasn't been ruled out, but he didn't throw this weekend. He dealt with back problems in the offseason. You wonder if he's going to throw. The pitching is not going to be at the standard that it's been last year, and they really expect it to be this year when they get everybody healthy. So can the offense against good competition, be able to put up 5-6 runs, give them good chances to win against really good competition? I think is going to be really interesting to see for a very, very young group. But should be very interesting. Top 5 matchup against Texas Tech, Houston, not in the top 25, but a consistent good program. And then number 25 Stanford. A lot of guys with Tennessee, Frank Anderson and Tony Vitello's recruiting ties. A lot of Texas guys on this roster as they head to Round Rock. It should be interesting to watch how some of them play. You know, a guy we talked about, Alex Solari, doesn't have a hit yet this season. Has driven in 2. He's walked 3 times, but All-American. I'd expect a breakout weekend from him. He's a guy from Houston, went to junior college out of high school, didn't get recruited by Houston, didn't get recruited by Texas Tech. He's obviously been a budding star in Knoxville in his 2 years, so I'd expect a breakout weekend for him, and it'll be interesting to watch a lineup that, you know, used about 14 starters in the first 4 games, and almost all 14 have hit the ball pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see how Vitello kind of thinks his guys stack up early, what he decides to go with the lineups. But it'll certainly be interesting to watch. We'll have coverage of that as well as Tennessee's weekend bout at Auburn and complete Lady Vols coverage this week against Arkansas and Vanderbilt. Thank you for joining us. Have a great week.